Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to analyze a short-term rental or Airbnb for Indianapolis. So this may work in other cities, but this is specifically for Indianapolis. So we're going to jump right into it. This is actually a real life scenario. So I'm actually buying this property off market from a connection from a friend. It is already furnished. So I do have a leg up in this. It is harder to cash flow right now in 2024 with higher interest rates, lower inventory. So I have found one that cash flows, which it took me a while to find, but we're going to jump into it. So I have my Airbnb listing, but also what you're going to want to pull up is my STR Airbnb calculator found on my website, tylerlingle.com. So I already have it pulled up right here, tylerlingle.com. And if you go to invest, and you go down to use my cash flow models. So boom, we have a cash flow model, a house hack model, and boom, STR Airbnb pro forma model. So I will pull that up. And as you can see right here, we have a pretty robust pro forma, which is just another word for a model or a spreadsheet. So I'm going to walk through this with you guys and show you how to underwrite or analyze a short-term rental in Indianapolis. So starting off, we need to go back to the high level, which is what are we buying? So I am buying this house, which is 3907 Rookwood Ave in Butler, Tarkington, a mile south of Butler University, close to Newfields, the Children's Museum, etc. So this house, I negotiated a purchase of 260,000. So going back to our spreadsheet, what we're first going to do, and I am using a mortgage, so I should say that. So I'm not buying this in cash. I am using a mortgage. So we're going to punch in 260,000 in the calculator. I'm doing 25% down with a commercial DSCR loan. I like those right now because the interest rates are lower. My rate is 7% at 25-year amortized. So you can see here that I'm putting in information on these yellow tabs. You don't need to mess with the white ones. It is a little different over here, so we're gonna get into that. So my amount down would be 65,000 and furnishings. Well, I am buying a place with furnishings. Usually that might not be the case. So I wrote down here, note from Roots Realty Co. Furnishings expect 4 to 5,000 per 800 square feet and more if you're paying someone to set it up. So this property is roughly 1,500 square feet. So it would be more like 10,000. However, I'm inheriting a lot of furniture, so I have 5,000. So I'm adding 5,000 of additional furniture and design into it. Um, this is your all-in. So if you have a lot of repairs and maintenance to do immediately, you would want to add it in here as well. Okay. So we have our mortgage note, which is showing us a payment of about 1,400 a month in principal and interest. That does not include taxes and insurance. So we're going to go over here to look at the overall cash flow, but we need to start with income. To calculate the income on an Airbnb is not an exact science. It is more of an art. So I'm going to jump right in. So first we need to figure out the nightly rate, and I wrote full cost. So that's not the sticker price you see on Airbnb. It's actually once you add in all the fees, the cleaning fee, the service fee, what is the actual charge of that customer on that night? So the best way to do that is to start with AirDNA. AirDNA does cost money, but you can see quite a bit on the free version. I have the paid version. So if I zoom in here, I'm just gonna, it actually has my listing here. It says it was at 25% occupancy with an average daily rate of 258. I don't think this is correct, but I could be wrong. Maybe he did not have it optimized, because what we would have wanted to happen is a lower average daily rate with more like 50 to 65% occupancy, which is more normal for Indianapolis. So I'm not sure. And people have told me that AirDNA's data is just okay. But I like to look around at the comps. So my house is 3 bed, 2 bath. It fits 8 people. It's about 1,500 square feet. So we would just be looking around. Now, the ones near me first of all, there's not really many near me, but this one up here is close, and this is 3 beds, 2.5 baths, fits 8 people, 39% occupancy, 224. So this is a data point. So the average daily rate showing me it's around there, with the occupancy quite low. Let's keep looking around. Now this comp is showing an annual revenue of 810, with 9% occupancy. This is likely a person that uses it their house and they only rent it out on like one weekend a year. This would not be a good comp, so you do have to use um, some of your own discernment here with the comps. That's the problem with AirDNA data; it can be very swayed. All right, let's go up here. Now we are more north, so I know this is a bit of a better area. So I'm also taking that into account. So here we have a short-term listing. It's 3 bed, 1 bath, fits 6 people, 42% occupancy, with an average daily rate of 220. So I'm seeing a lot of occupancies lower, which Indianapolis as a whole is more 50 to 70%. If we're in the 40s, my hunch is that that person is not having it available all year round. I could be wrong. Perhaps this area is just very low occupancy, but that is my hunch. Or their daily rate is too high. Okay. But if you go to the initial page on AirDNA, you can see the broader Indianapolis market view and then the submarket overview. But if you look at the entire zip code that we have here, right here, you can see it says we have an occupancy rate of 47% with an average daily rate of 163. So all of this is data points I'm using to think, what can my average daily rate be and my occupancy rate? And you'll see we will multiply those two numbers to get the monthly income. Okay. So what I'm now going to do, I have some data points here. Again, not an exact science, but I'm going to go into Airbnb. Okay. So I have the advantage that my unit is already on Airbnb. So I can even just see what it would charge. Okay, so 150, pretty cheap in February, but let's go to like April to see. We have a 3 night minimum. All right, 315 a night. So already Airbnb is recognizing that there's a seasonal swing and it's discounting it in the winter. And once it warms up, it's greatly increasing it. So as you can see, we're kind of veering into that about 200 per night, which is helpful now, even from Airbnb's own algorithm here. But what I like to do now is zoom into actual listings. So looking at your actual competition and seeing what they are charging. So the best way to do this is to look for homes that are essentially very similar to yours. So I like to go out a couple weeks out, not immediately out, but a little bit out. So we'll do this weekend actually. We'll do March 20th, April 3rd, and we're gonna do mine can fit 8. We'll do 5. And then we'll look at the options and what the nightly rate is. Now, keep in mind, it says this rate, but it's actually going to be higher with the cleaning fees and all the extra fees Airbnb loves to tack on. Okay, so ours is located right here. Let's look at our neighbors here. So this is a competitor here, charging $305 a night, with the total before taxes $1,945 for 5 nights. So it is going to be higher than 305, but that's good to know. Let's keep looking. It's also a good idea to look at the pictures, of course. So compare, how would yours look? So I'm seeing super modern finishes, kind of Chip and Joanna Gaines style, large space. This is certainly nicer than my home. So I'm keeping that in mind. Um, Now mine, I think when it's optimized, will be able to possibly beat it out in some character. I didn't think that had a lot of character, but keeping that in mind. All right, let's check out this guy right here. All right, so for 5 nights, we have 207 a night. Um, Here, let's take a look at the pictures. Again, kind of that modern theme, pretty open concept, nice overall finishes, cool backyard with a patio space. So this is not bad, not bad at all. Charging 207 a night. Now, what's a good idea is to kind of play around with this to see what they're charging at various times. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. So, okay, so coming up soon here, they're charging 207 a night. So you can see there is a seasonal swing. So what I'm trying to do, guys, is just get a feel for the overall prices. And it's a lot of like back and forth analysis, just testing various price points, dates. Try longer stays. Does that change the rates you're seeing? As you can see, it usually goes lower. Try 1 night stays. They are 2 night minimum. And just get a feel for the overall prices. Now, this property specifically, I already know is in a worse area than mine because it is located on a busy street. So we're on 38th Street. So I'm keeping that in mind too. Mine is a little bit inland on a bit more of a residential street. So what you're trying to do is first go and look at the average daily rate for the comps and the occupancy on AirDNA. See if you're finding data that you think makes sense, and then you're going into Airbnb and doing the same. So overall, I would do this probably for quite a bit more time, just comparing notes and comparing what I think our property can do. Now, I have already done that for my property, so I'm going to go into the spreadsheet and add in what we can see here. So the nightly rate that I have determined ours can get, including cleaning fee, including service fee. So whatever it says on Airbnb, add in the cleaning fee, which is usually $65 to $80. For ours is 230. I have a high confidence in this number after looking at the comps extensively. Now, the occupancy rate, if I'm renting this out all year round, I'm never living in it. What we are shooting for is 60%. We have some months where we will be higher. We might get someone stay a whole month, like a travel nurse, and we have some months that are more difficult, especially in the winter. So 60% is what I have, which admittedly is higher than the average. So I can talk in future videos about how I get that up, but I do have a strong belief we can get there. Now, if you have no experience at all, you're probably going to want to match your neighbors and say like 47%, which could hurt the numbers tremendously. If you have experience or you have a manager that strongly believes they can get this and has justification, then that makes sense. Okay, so that's showing us a top line income of 4209 per month. Okay. Now, cleaning fees, you're going to want to average out how many stays you think you're going to get. So a good way to do that would be to go onto Airbnb and even just look at past months to see how often people were staying in the units. So this property, again, was not optimized and it only had 2 stays. That'd be 2 cleaning fees. Usually a cleaner in Indianapolis is from 65 to $80, maybe a large property, 100, 150 for like a gigantic 3,500 square foot place. But for mine at 1,500 square feet, we're looking at about $80 a clean with an average of 3 to 4 stays a night. I have 300 there as my number. So again, it's not an exact science, guys. It is an art, and that is the number that I have configured in. Okay. So our net income now, which is after cleaning fees, is 3909, okay, in revenue after cleaning fees. However, we have to add in all of our various expenses, our mortgage, our taxes, our insurance, our operating expenses, and management fees. There are a lot of fees. There are a lot of hidden fees. So We're going to go ahead and get into that. So our mortgage is already calculated from this, so you don't need to mess around with this number. Now, everything else you're going to have to go into, okay, and change. So I already have it calculated on a monthly basis. That's why right here it says divided by 12. So that means we need to put in our yearly amount. Now, for insurance, some people are really good at estimating insurance, some people are not. If you're not good at estimating insurance, there are a variety of articles and calculators you can use. So you could go to NerdWallet, search NerdWallet, home insurance calculator. Use this as a starting point or use your agent. So I am a real estate agent. I would be able to help someone estimate. But I have already ran the numbers here, and our insurance policy is $1,600 a year. Taxes. Now, the way to find taxes, the easiest way would be Redfin. If you go to Redfin and you go to the old listing, which this has since been updated in condition, but you will see our property tax is $1,276 in 2022. That is still quite low because in Indianapolis, a standard property tax is from 2 to 2.5% of the assessed value, which the assessed value follows the sales value. So that would tell me that at 260,000, I'm doing my math here, my calculator, 0.025 would be 6,500 in taxes, which is considerably higher than this tax. So the taxes are lower and they will likely go up. So again, this is an art, not a science. I'm not going to use the super low number here, nor am I going to use that 2.5%. It will go up over time. So what I'm going to put in there is we're going to put in 2,500 for which is about 1%. So it could immediately go up extremely high or it could stay low. It is hard to say, but all right, so we've updated our insurance, taxes, now maintenance. And I put include furniture. So this is furniture replenishment, the garbage disposal breaks, the dishwasher breaks. You got to tune up the furnace. Typically, 2,000 a year is a solid number for a property. If your property is quite large, you might want to go higher. If your property is really small, maybe 1,000, but that's really low. So I'm going to keep it at 2,000 a year. Capital expenditures, again, for a baseline for a home, I usually have 2,000 a year, which should be able to cover your roof, HVAC, larger expenses, water heater. So I'm going to keep it at 2,000 a year. So 167 a month we're budgeting for maintenance capex. Now, you cannot forget we have utilities, Wi-Fi, security system baked into this. So the utilities is going to include your power, your gas. So AES Power in Indianapolis, if you're in Indianapolis, Citizens Water and Gas. I always ask the seller when I'm pending what their rates are, and I would actually ask for some bills. You can even write up your purchase agreement contingent upon that. I would strongly suggest that. Or you can call the utility companies and get an estimate. But I am averaging about 250 for utilities a month on similar properties in Indianapolis. So about say 150 for gas and water and $100 a month for power for something that is used in this capacity. However, I'm including Wi-Fi in here, which is going to be about 65 a month with Spectrum, ranges from 65, 75. And security system probably is going to be like $20 a month for like a Simply Safe. Now I have it at 500, which is quite a bit higher. That's probably a bit too high, honestly. So we're going to put this at 450 for utilities, Wi-Fi, security system. Now management is calculated automatically. I have a manager who manages this for me personally for 10%, but I'm doing a lot of the active rate setting and management myself, bookkeeping. So normally a manager is 20%. In fact, we have a company called Birdie that does manage these. So you might want to change the rate to match what the market rate is if you're using a manager and you multiply that by the net income after cleaning fees. You don't want cleaning fees included in the management fee, which is that. Okay. We've pretty much finished the analysis part of the video, and now it's time to look at kind of the overall breakdown of what's happening here. So right now, we're looking at a little over 2,000 a month in cash flow, which is great, with yearly a little over 25,000 with the cash on cash ROI of 36%. Okay. Now over here, this calculates automatically. You don't need to change anything, but this is going to help put a lot of this into context. So um, usually what we're looking for is an operating cost ratio. So that means operating costs less your debt service, so not including your mortgage. So things like taxes, insurance, maintenance, management of about 40%. This is actually 49%, likely because I'm using a manager at 20%. That's doing, mind you, all of the work. So you're literally not doing anything and still making that. Now, if I'm managing this myself, I'm probably at 10%, just from an operator doing it with me, which puts me under that 40. So that changes that drastically. However, your time is involved. So if you want to not be dedicating weekends, nights, tons of messages to guests, you want a manager. That 20% is going to be well spent. So back to our analysis, we have a net income post cleaning fees of about 47,000. Our operating costs, not including your debt service, is about 18,000. Again, 40%, which is pretty standard on a short-term rental. Our debt service. So if we bought this in cash, this number wouldn't be there. However, we did. So our debt service, our mortgage principal and interest payment each year is 16,500 about, leading us. So you keep this number, you subtract 18 and 16, you get 25,000 in yearly cash flows, which helps us calculate this number. Our cash ROI is 37%, which is very strong. That is quite good. I actually wrote a note here which says that in Indianapolis, anything above 10% cash on cash ROI is great, 20% being exceptional. So a 37% is quite strong. And I think this will be a great investment. Now, keep in mind, I am putting 25% down, and that is a little higher. So I'm putting more cash into the deal to make it cash flow more. So anytime people are like, wow, there's no cash flows, there is a way to cash flow, which is to get more cash down initially, which of course is going to be more difficult, but there are other strategies to use like seller financing, private money. So using some of those creative strategies to find a way to put more cash into the deal and make it cash flow, or finding great deals that pencil out. So this is really the end of the video. I hope this is helpful in helping you know how to analyze and underwrite a short-term rental deal. This was only one deal, so there are many deals. But if you have any questions, you can reach out to me / our team. Our team can be reached at rootsrealty.co. I can be reached at tylerlingle.com. Cheers, guys, and good luck out there.